Hello, this is Andy Schaefer's application engineer at Maya. A number of our customers are implementing work-at-home strategies for their employees. This presents a particular challenge for NX CAM users because although we can get the CAM system working on a separate computer, it's often difficult to get all of the resource files hooked up on that new computer. I'm talking about things like the tool library, the post-processor, feeds and speeds libraries, and individual customized operations that you're using. In this video then, I'll try to present some strategies to help you get set up on a separate computer with minimal IT support if that is a situation you find yourself in. Because there are so many different configuration strategies available, I can't really give you a step-by-step guide on what to do, but we'll go through some typical configuration situations that I see with our customers and show you how you can get a different computer configured. Let's begin with some of the easier stuff then. I've opened here on the screen my log file, and the way you access that is you choose File, Help, and then Log File. Now I know there's a lot of things in here that really only make sense to a developer, but if you haven't looked at the log file before, I'm going to encourage you to do that now. If you look carefully, you'll see that there is quite a bit of useful information in here. I've scrolled down past the first 30 lines, and here I see the version of NX that's loaded on the computer I've been using. So I'm going to want to be careful and make sure that the computer I'm moving to also has this same version. Next, I come down here to this line where there's a DPV file, and this is my customer defaults. Let's look at where that comes from now. If I choose File, Utilities, Customer Defaults, of course this is all the settings that you use for CAD and CAM to customize your implementation. If I choose here the Manage Current Settings button, I can export defaults from here, which would allow me to create a DPV file, or I could just grab this one. And then on the computer I'm moving to, I can import the defaults. Also, if I let's close this dialog box, and I'm looking here at the roles, and if I open up User, you'll see that I have a role that I've created. Now the name of my role is Multi-Axis Machining, but if I choose Edit, I see that the file is actually nxrole0.mtx. So that's another file that I'm going to want to look at. All right, so where are these files? Let's go and look at that now. I'm going to bring up a Windows Explorer window that I'm looking at my users directory, app data, local, Siemens, and then NX120, because again, I'm doing this work in NX12, but with just changes to the numbers, this works for any version. So here was that user.dpv file we talked about. Here are the roles that are used by default, but that specific role that I was talking about is here. So this is another file that I want to grab and take to my new machine. Let's return now to our original machine with NX12 and NX CAM loaded on it. And we want to explore in more detail where some of the resources for CAM are loaded and customized here in our original machine. I should point out that my addresses will look probably a little different than yours. I support many versions of NX, and so I load them into C:/apps, where most of our customers are going to have C:/program files/Siemens, and then the version number. Otherwise, things should appear identical. As I start scrolling down, I want to look for the environment variables that are used specifically in CAM. And here's where they start. Here's my base directory, which is C:/apps nx12/mach. And as I continue to scroll down, I see everything is coming out of that mock directory until I get here. Here's an L/cam custom /tool English. Here's another L, and again, L is a server drive. And here's a third directory. So these are my English and metric folders where the tool database.dat files are located. And here is where the graphics or the parts and assemblies that make up my tools are loaded. So those three folders are customized. Let's look at what's going on in NX that caused these three folders to be customized. Now I'm looking into my NX12 directory and the UGII subfolder, and I'm looking specifically at a file named UGII_env.dat. In a text editor, we can see that three customizations have occurred. This file does not define all of the environment variables. Those are defined elsewhere. In this file, we only put the environment variables which, as users, we wish to customize for this implementation of NX. So here I have the environment variable name, and then on the right side, inside quotes, is the address to that folder location. If I have VPN access for my remote machine, my job's going to be pretty easy at this point, because I can take this UGII_env.dat file and copy it to my new machine. That's what I'm going to show you how to do now. Now I'm looking at the desktop on the new machine that I'm configuring for NX CAM. If I could take this UGII_env.dat file and copy it into the UGII file for NX12, I'd be done. But remember, we're imagining a situation here where we might have limited IT support and we don't have write access to the program files directory. So I'm going to show you how to work around that situation. I've created a folder on the C drive, which could be named anything, but I've named it NX_start. I've put a UGII folder in there, and then I've dropped my UGII_env.dat file into that folder. Now I'm going to modify my shortcut. Well, I'm not going to modify it. I'm going to make a copy and modify the copy. Again, that name could be anything, but I'm right-clicking on it and I'm choosing Properties. And the Start In path is what I want to modify. So I'll click here, right-click, and copy this path, and then paste that path here. That will cause NX to look for resources in this folder first as it starts up. It'll find this UGII_env.dat file instead of the default one that's in program files. So that's a technique then that you can use to get around the fact that you don't have write access to that program files directory. What if it turns out, though, that in fact you do not have VPN access and you must work completely independently? In that case, you would want to take those files off the server, off the L drive, copy them locally to the C drive on your new computer. Then you'll go into the same UGII_env.dat file and change the L to a C so that you're addressing them locally. Now we'll move on to a slightly more complex situation. We'll imagine that while working on your original computer, you did have write access to the program file /Siemens/NX12 directory, and that you had created a number of customizations right in with all of the default files in the resource directory here. So as an example, in template part English, you may have changed these files which are used in the creation of operations, or perhaps in template set you had changed the camgeneral.opt to look at those new PRT files you created while you were creating your operations in NX, so you'd see them there in the list. Or perhaps you had created new post-processors and added them to the post-processor directory. Here's how to create a customization in that situation. We'll start by taking the directories that contain the customized information, in this case post-processor, template part, and template set, and I'll copy and paste. And as an example, I'm pasting back to my L drive, but this could also be the C drive of the new computer that I'm working with. Next, we'll look at setting the environment variables so that NX will point here for these resources rather than the default location. The first thing that we'll need is a guide to the environment variables we're looking for. I've returned to the NX12/UGII directory. This was the file we've worked on previously. All of the environment variables, though, are listed in this file, UGII_env_UG.dat. Let's bring that up in a text editor now. This has explanations of all the environment variables along with their default locations. Let's go to the top, and I'm going to do a search, and I'm going to search for .opt because that's one of the things we're looking for, is an environment variable to control that OPT file. And here it is. I see I've got a bunch of UGII_CAM environment variables, and one of them is for the template set. So I'll copy, and for now just paste this into my UGII_env.dat file. This is the one I had open previously. I've deleted those other three environment variables and just kept this part because we're going to need this in a minute. Okay, now we need the template directory, and it's this one right here. This is the root for all the template parts. So I'll copy here, paste this in, and recall there was one more we wanted, the post processors. And here it is. Okay, now we have a little bit of editing to do. The environment variables are defined on the left side, then there's always an equal sign, and then you have a path to their location. This variable here sends it to the default location. I'm going to move this over so we can see that we actually have three folders named post processor, template part, template set. So we have matches over here on the right side. We just have to redefine this portion, and this is what we want. This L:/cam custom. So I'm going to paste that into all three locations. And I've got to remember to put the quote back on the end. Remember, if you're testing your implementations, you'll want to close NX and then reopen it. It only reads this file once at the beginning. And I should have mentioned I've got to delete this or I would have had an error occur. Okay, that's our second scenario then. And once again, if you don't have VPN access, the thing to do is copy this CAM custom folder onto the C drive of the new computer you're configuring, and then where you see the L, change that to a C so that everything matches up again. You might wonder at this point, well, we had everything in the local directories on the old machine. Why not just copy all of those files into the same locations on the new machine? And theoretically, that would work. I don't recommend it because it's easy to miss something, and then if you get some odd error, it can be very difficult to track down. If you make a mistake with this technique, you can just put a £sign in front of one of your settings. That makes it appear like a remark, like these up here, and then it will no longer be interpreted. You can close NX, reopen it, and try it again. That helps you determine if you've made an error in your spelling or something, where that error is. The third scenario I'd like to cover today is one that we don't recommend for customization. However, I see it frequently. This customization is performed not by finding the individual folders where a company wants to customize resources, but rather they start by taking the entire resource directory out of NX and copying it somewhere on the server, and then pointing to it using that UGII file we discussed earlier. So if that is the situation you face, again, the reason it's not recommended is really two things. First is it's very difficult to keep this folder updated. If you switch or update your NX CAM, you really need to go through the entire resource directory and make sure all the files in there remain up to date with your current version of NX. It's quite a time-consuming task. If you don't, you can start getting odd errors and things occurring. The second reason is that if you have this off on the network, your CAM implementation as you're working is constantly going to be going out on the network for resources. That can really be a problem if you're trying to work from home and through VPN source this resource directory. So let's look then at the two situations where we do have to use the resource directory as our customization base. In our first scenario, we're going to continue to use the resource directory from our server at work. So we're kind of imagining that here as being the L drive, it's CAM custom, and then we've dumped the entire resource directory in there. Moving from there, we need to open our UGII underbar env.dat file on our new computer that we're taking home. And this is going to be the line we would use to reroute all of the CAM resources back to the L drive. And I probably should have mentioned this before, but whenever you write one of these resources out, you do need the backslash right before the quote sign. That's important. Okay, and where is the UGII underbar env.dat file? Well, on our new computer, remember it's going to be in NX start UGII, and that allows us to use our NX12 reroute. And I'm just reviewing now, but that is the one where we did start in, and we are now looking for that file here in this location when we start up NX. Okay, what's the second scenario? That would be where we found that our VPN did not have enough throughput for us to run the resource directory from the server at our company. So we needed to copy it locally. I'm not actually going to go through all those steps, but instead of out on the L drive, it would be locally on our C drive, and then we just need to change this UGII CAM resource directory to C. At this time, I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to remove the last quote, hit the save button, and let's try this just so we can see how to do error checking. So I've hit the reroute, and it gives us some pretty specific information here. It's saying that on line 19, which is right here, we're missing an ending quote sign. So it is going to some extent, check the syntax for you and try and give you specific information about errors that you've made. It's not going to catch all of your errors, though. For instance, if I somehow end up typing an extra letter in here, it will go ahead and make this environment variable for us. It just won't do anything for us because NX doesn't know what that environment variable would do. It isn't internally defined anywhere. So I always try and copy and paste my environment variable names rather than type them in. It just reduces mistakes. Well, I do hope that this video was helpful to you. If you have other suggestions that people could use or other ideas, please put them in the comments, and we might incorporate them into other videos in the future. Thank you.